Guten Abend, meine Damen und Herren. Ich habe ein bisschen Deutsch gelernt, aber mein Deutsch ist noch nicht sehr gut. So I think I'll speak in English tonight, because that's the only sentence I can reliably say in German, actually. So it's very exciting to be here and a great honor on this 500th anniversary for Herr Mercator. And I'm going to talk tonight about a lot of different things, but briefly, including whether or not everything in Wikipedia is true, but also about some of the impact that we're having globally and some of my thoughts about what all of this means for the world and for the future. But my clicker's not working. Oops, there we go. I might have to switch. So, Wikipedia began just over 11 years ago now with a very radical idea, and that's for all of us to imagine a world in which every single person on the planet is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge. So that's what we're doing at Wikipedia. This is our big vision, our big goal, and this vision statement means a lot of different things. When I say every single person on the planet, it means that our project is inherently global and inherently multilingual across the entire world. When I say free access to the sum of all human knowledge, I mean something very special by that, which I'll explain. And even the sum of all human knowledge helps us to define what Wikipedia is and what Wikipedia is not. So we could go forward a slide. I am going to have to switch here because that's not working. That one works. Okay. So what is Wikipedia? Just to start with the basics. So how many people here have used Wikipedia? Yeah, that's just to wake everyone up. The real question, though, is how many people here have actually edited Wikipedia? Okay, actually that's pretty good. Usually when I'm speaking to audiences at universities, I'll get much higher rates than that. But I would say for a general audience, that was quite a high response. One of the things that we do know about Wikipedia is that the German language is the second largest Wikipedia, and on a per capita basis, participation in Germany is very, very high compared to other places around the world. So Wikipedia is very, very popular in Germany. What is free access? So I say free access to the sum of all human knowledge. What do I mean by that? What do we mean when we say Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia? Well, what we're talking about here is something more than just the cost. It doesn't cost you anything to use Wikipedia. It's made available freely. But we mean something more important than that. In English, we don't really have the two words that many languages have of libre and gratis. And so what we say in the free software movement is we're talking about free as in speech, not free as in beer. So free beer is great. Someone gives you free beer, you drink it. That's wonderful. It didn't cost you anything. But we're really talking about freedom of speech, about what you can do with Wikipedia. So everything in Wikipedia is freely licensed, meaning that people have contributed their time and their efforts to create something that you can copy, you can modify, you can redistribute modified versions, and you can do all of these things commercially or non-commercially. So when people are putting information into Wikipedia, they aren't contributing just to this one humanitarian project. They're contributing to a storehouse of knowledge which can be reused and repurposed for all kinds of things globally. And there's a lot of interesting things that come out of that as people are able to take Wikipedia content and distribute it. For example, there's a project I just was talking to someone about yesterday. That was a project in Argentina where they're distributing the Spanish language version of Wikipedia on DVDs to rural schools that don't have access to the internet. The people who have done that project didn't have to ask permission to do it because everything is freely licensed. They're free to take a copy of Wikipedia and give it to a school if they want to, and we think that's really important. When I say the sum of all human knowledge, what do I mean by that? Well, what this means is that Wikipedia is a very particular type of work. It is an encyclopedia. So it is not a textbook, it's not a library, it's not a blog, so it's not an open free speech platform. Wikipedia is not YouTube. So as much as I love funny cat videos, they don't belong in Wikipedia. Basically, what Wikipedia is an essentialized summary of human knowledge with the depth of the material depending on the context. And there's a lot of principles that go along with that have been very important to our success. So what is our success so far? Well, we have over 20 million articles across 270 different languages. Now, 270 is one way of counting the number of languages. It's the number of projects that have in some sense launched. For me, I'm a bit more cautious in saying how many languages we have. We have just over 200 languages that have at least 1,000 articles. And for me, once a project has 1,000 articles, that's when it's truly launched. There will be several participants, maybe 4 or 5 really active contributors, maybe 20 or 30 more who are part-time contributors. And that's when the group really begins to think of themselves as a community and to think about how can we bring in more authors? How can we get publicity? How can we let people know that we exist? So 200 or so languages in Wikipedia. But of course, these languages are not distributed evenly around the world. While English is the largest project, we also have over 1 million entries each in German and French. And in fact, we're quite large in all of the European languages, all of the major European languages, and surprisingly large in some of the smaller languages of Europe. But beyond that, it does drop off fairly quickly. We have a very large project in Japanese and in Chinese, but there are still a lot of places around the world where there's an enormous amount of work to do. And this is something that we're turning more and more focus to, efforts in India, for example, to help people learn how to contribute, to improve the software for people who want to contribute in the Indian languages. And so that is, for us, because we are a charity devoted to free knowledge for everyone, that's an increasingly important part of our work. One of the languages that people are always interested in is Chinese. Quite famously, the Chinese have a very active program of censoring the internet. And so the question is, how does Wikipedia function in China? Well, for about 3 years, we were completely banned in China. All language versions, we were completely blocked in China. And then just a few years ago, around the time of the Olympics in Beijing, the Chinese started to take a slightly different approach to the internet, and they opened up a lot of websites that had been closed before, including Wikipedia. So I've been now and visited the minister of the State Council Information Office. I've visited him twice in Beijing. He's been to the US and visited with me twice. We've had dinner. We don't agree at all about certain issues, but we do feel that the situation today is reasonably stable. And what is the situation today? The situation today is that Wikipedia is broadly available in China, but today they filter out certain pages of information that they deem illegal in China. So what kinds of things are they filtering? They're blocking, for example, the page about Liu Xiaobo, the Nobel Peace Prize winner. They're filtering the page about Ai Weiwei, the artist who's been in conflict with the government there, and a whole host of issues that would not surprise anyone in the room. Any certain things having to do with the Dalai Lama, things having to do with potentially Taiwanese independence. That is a question that's not even allowed to be discussed in China. But other than that, Wikipedia is very, very broadly available in China. But because we were banned for 3 years, Wikipedia is not as popular in China as it is in other places around the world. In most places around the world, Wikipedia is in the top 5 or at least in the top 10 of all websites. In China, we're just about ranked number 50 in China. When I said this to the minister, he said, well, there's over 2 million websites in China, so number 50 is not so bad. I said, right. So, but the way I presented it to him is that he wants me to say, why is Wikipedia so far behind in China? But I always say, why is China so far behind in Wikipedia? He actually asked me, he said, well, there's so many people speaking Chinese, why is Chinese not the largest language? And I said, maybe because there were these access problems for 3 years. They don't like you to say censorship. They insist there's no censorship. But in any event, Wikipedia is increasingly popular in China. The Chinese project is quite healthy and quite good. But there is something quite interesting. Someone sent me this menu from Beijing. I'm not sure if you can read that. It says Wikipedia fried with eggs. Here's another one. Beef brisket in Wikipedia flavor. Someone sent me this and they said, Jimmy, what does this mean? And I said, I have no idea. Wikipedia Bread Company. I went there. It was in Dalian. It was quite good. I said, I know who will know. Let's ask the Beijing area Wikipedian. So I sent an email to them, and I said, what does this mean? And they emailed me back, and they said, we have no idea. Stir-fried Wikipedia. So There are all these menus across China that have Wikipedia as a food item. We're not exactly sure why. In fact, if you look closer at these, they're all different food items. And this happened just around the time of the Olympics. And so what we believe is, around the time of the Olympics, many restaurants in Beijing and Shanghai were expecting millions of foreigners to come for the first time. And they thought, well, if foreigners are coming, we'd better translate our menu. And of course, if you go on any search engine and you type in anything, what's the first thing that you find? Wikipedia. So we think that might be what it is. As for me, I like it spicy, stir-fried Wikipedia with pimentos. So I've been saying I'm not sure that we'll ever make it into the top 10 of websites in China, but we may finally have a good business model, and we'll open a chain of restaurants in China. So, well, this is all very interesting. The differences around the world are something that people are always interested in. They always ask me, how does Wikipedia differ in the different languages of the world? And the good news is the style of Wikipedia, the tone of Wikipedia is very, very similar. The Wikipedia community globally is very passionate about neutrality. Of course, neutrality is an ideal. You don't always reach it, but people really do try. And it's something that's very cherished value in the community, so that if someone comes to us and says, this article is biased in favor of one position or something, people will take it very seriously, and they'll look at it and they'll have a discussion and a debate. And usually it goes pretty well. It isn't perfect, but it works out pretty well. But one of the things that we do know is that what people are reading in Wikipedia does vary in different places around the world. This is a chart showing English, Chinese, Japanese, French, German, Russian, and Spanish. And so one of the things, if you look at what people are interested in, one of the things that pops out at people immediately is if you look up in the third column, the big green band there is Japan and pop culture. And if you know anything about Japan, this makes perfect sense. The Japanese do love pop culture. They love English pop culture. They love Japanese pop culture. They love American pop culture. And so it's quite natural that for people who are surfing the internet in Japan, they're very commonly searching for pop culture topics. Other interesting things here, perhaps influenced by Mercator. The Germans are very interested in geography, so that's maybe a bit of historical connection to what we're celebrating tonight. Other ones that are interesting is that sex is in the most popular topics in all of the languages except for French and Spanish. I found this very puzzling until someone explained to me it's probably because the French and the Spanish are actually having sex, and maybe the rest of us are just reading about it on the internet. I'm not sure. This is all very amusing, but actually when you dig a little deeper, what we do find is that many of the differences around the world are actually more similarities than differences. If you go and you look at who is reading, for example, the article on Nick Clegg. Nick Clegg is the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Most of the people who are reading that entry are in the United Kingdom because Nick Clegg is not that interesting to people in other parts of the world. It doesn't impact their life, and they're not interested in British politics. And we find that all around the world. People are very interested in their local political figures. So in a sense, yes, that's different what people are looking at, but in a deeper sense, it's really the same. And so we find that many of the same themes, many of the same topics, many of the interests are quite the same all around the world. So today, what this means is that every month, over 460 million people are visiting Wikipedia. This is an astonishing thing to think about, the number of people who are using Wikipedia every month. And so it raises a very important question. Who are the Wikipedians? Who are the people who are writing Wikipedia? Because we are, as a community, part of the infrastructure of the world. And one of the things that people feel sometimes is when you go to interact with Wikipedia, you go to look up some famous battle in history or a queen of England or something, and you know pretty much what you're going to get. You get a very nice, clear explanation. But what you don't get is a sense of the humanity of the people behind Wikipedia. But I do think it's quite important. One of the reasons, this is a statement from someone who turns out to be a school librarian, who said, yesterday I asked one of my students if she knew what an encyclopedia is, and she said, is it something like Wikipedia? This is a school librarian at a high school, and if you think about, so Wikipedia is now 11 years old. So if you think about a student who is 15 years old today. Wikipedia has existed for the entire time that they know how to read, and certainly in the last 5 years, which would be the time period when they could read well enough and they were doing things in school that they would need to look up information, Wikipedia has been very, very popular and very important to them. So Wikipedia, for the next generation coming up, is really part of their infrastructure. It's where they go to for knowledge. Therefore, we have a very strong cultural responsibility to do a really good job. It's very important to think about who the Wikipedians are and are they passionate about getting it right. So by the numbers, we are unfortunately about 87% male. We've done different surveys of our editors. We get slightly different numbers depending on when we ask and how we ask, but I think it's a reasonable estimate. And we're not happy with this number. We think that we should have a much more diverse community, and we're doing a lot of things to try to address that within the community. The average age is around 26. I don't really have a problem with that. It's the typical Wikipedian who I meet is in their late 20s, college educated, just starting out in a career, and they're doing Wikipedia as a hobby. We have many older editors. We have some younger editors. Some of the younger editors are really amazing, and they really do amazing work. But you know, it's on average a fairly young group of people. We have about double the percentage of PhDs compared to the general public. So that does not mean that Wikipedia is mainly written by PhDs, of course. The number of people who have a PhD is quite small globally. But it does mean that on average we're a geekier crowd than normal, a very well-educated crowd. And that's not surprising since our hobby is writing an encyclopedia, that we would be pretty geeky people. So now I'm going to show you a video that we took some video footage talking to some of the Wikipedia contributors. And the idea here is to give you a bit more of a human face of who are the Wikipedians so that you can see, have a bit of a better idea of who we are. So here we go.
If you have knowledge, why you must keep it by yourself? You must share it, I think.
I liked that the purpose of this website didn't say website, didn't say wiki, didn't say internet, it just said free knowledge for everyone in their own language.
When a community is open, it's really made of those who dare taking this invitation. And this is an invitation. Of course you don't have to take an invitation, but there is an invitation out there in an edit button to say, come be part. What you know is as important as what we know.
You know, you're giving education to people, and not just any people, but the whole of the world. So I feel great by contributing to an encyclopedia that is accessible to virtually everyone in the whole world.
It's just making yourself happy by helping others, that's it. Because I want to be happy, I help others.
You're working together with so many different people from so many different cultures, and it's just amazing.
The thing about it, for me, what it's really about, it's just really sweet people. You know, we've got all these really sweet people who are just, they get online and they're typing, and instead of yelling at each other or just having a conversation or reading about gossip or whatever, they're trying to build something that everybody else will find useful. I just think it's really sweet, really nice people.
Okay, great. So some of the basic principles of Wikipedia, and I'm going to go through this fairly quickly because I think we may address some of this in the questions and answers. So one is that Wikipedia is an encyclopedia, as I said before, so that helps to define what belongs in Wikipedia and what doesn't belong in Wikipedia. In POV, neutral point of view, the idea is that every Wikipedia entry should strive to be neutral, to present all of the major viewpoints in a fair way, so that everyone can agree, even though maybe we disagree on the issue, we agree that it's been presented well, so that others can understand our disagreement. Free licensing. One of the things that's very important about Wikipedia is that we want everything in Wikipedia to be freely redistributable. So we want to respect copyright so that we have the right to redistribute everything. But also there's a deeper ethical principle at play here, which is no plagiarism. One of the things, whatever criticism people might have of Wikipedia, we're very proud to say we wrote it ourselves. That's really important to say. We wrote it ourselves. No one can say, yeah, Wikipedia is pretty good because they copied everything from somewhere else. No, we wrote it ourselves, and we're really proud of that. Civility. the idea in our community of no personal attacks, that people should treat each other with respect, so that if you have a disagreement with someone, you shouldn't attack that person, you shouldn't insult them, you should address the quality of the article and think about how to make the article better. And that principle has been very, very important in terms of creating a community that doesn't just descend, as so many internet communities do, into angry disagreements and ranting and basic uselessness. And one of the interesting principles is what we call ignore all rules, which is a bit paradoxical. But the idea here is that there are a lot of rules in Wikipedia, but if you're a person of good nature who's trying to help out, you shouldn't have to worry about every detailed rule. If you do something that's not quite right, someone shouldn't yell at you, they should help you to improve it. And that basically anything that gets in the way of improving the encyclopedia is a bad idea. So this is one of the things, this having of no firm rules is something that allows us to be flexible and to grow and to change over time. The community structure is quite interesting. One of the things is that Wikipedia is not an anarchy. A lot of people have the idea of Wikipedia that it's 100 million people, each adding one sentence each, but it really doesn't work like that. There really is a structure to the community, a social structure. It is not top-down, it is bottom-up, and it's quite different from other structures that you might imagine, editorial structures. But there is a structure, there are rules. The first and most important is consensus. The idea here is that if we have a disagreement, we should continue writing, we should continue working together to try to find a way that we can all agree. One of the things that we try to avoid in Wikipedia is too much voting. One of the problems with voting is that if I look around the room and I see that 70% of the people are on my side, I may be willing to dig in my heels and ignore the 30%. But if you've got 30% of these really sweet people, of Wikipedians who disagree about something, there's probably good cause in their disagreement, and there probably is a better way to write it, a better way to present the information so that more people can agree. So we try to achieve consensus as much as possible. There is a bit of voting, a bit of democracy. We have things like sometimes you have to make a decision that truly is either or. We're going to have a picture of the Eiffel Tower. We have three choices. Which one is the best picture? People may disagree. You could argue about it endlessly, but eventually you have to pick a picture and put it there. And so sometimes we'll have straw polls or votes around that. We also have the administrators who are elected by the community, who have certain additional powers to control the site, to block people from editing if they're misbehaving, to lock pages temporarily if there's some kind of serious problem. We have a bit of aristocracy, meaning that there are people in the community who are very deeply experienced editors, who are known by others and respected by others, and that their views carry more weight in a discussion. People will say, well, you know, we've got this disagreement going on, but I can see that this person is there that's a very thoughtful Wikipedian who's been around for a long time. We should listen to that person. That's quite important. And then we have a bit of monarchy, and this is my role in the community. But you shouldn't get the idea of an old-fashioned king. You should think more about Queen Elizabeth, which means I mainly wave at parades and make speeches, and try to provide a bit of a symbol of unity for the community. I talk about the big vision all the time, so that hopefully I feel that's my responsibility, is to say whatever disagreements, whatever fights we're having within the community, let's remember we're here for the project, we're here to make the world a better place, so let's do that. So I don't have a lot of power within the community, but I try to use my position to encourage people to think in a thoughtful and responsible way about the project. So one of the interesting things about us that I think most people are unaware of, surprisingly, is that Wikipedia is a product of the Wikimedia Foundation, which is a charity. So we're a charitable organization. We exist primarily from donations from the general public. The largest portion of the money that we raise is from the small donations every year. This is why, unfortunately, you see my picture on the website once a year, which I personally hate, by the way, but we've done many, many tests, and so far we found that that brings in the most money. So we try every year to find other people. We actually did find this year, we found 2 or 3 other people whose picture brought in as much money as me. So you didn't see me as much this year, thank goodness. My hope is that we'll someday find a way to raise money without putting my picture up at all, but for now it seems to be necessary. But the interesting thing is that the Wikimedia Foundation, the charity that runs Wikipedia, is a very small organization. We have under 100 employees. Actually, it's just around 100 now. But we have something like 100,000 volunteers. And so the foundation is really the smallest part of the overall movement. The foundation's job is to keep the servers running, to handle sort of financial, legal questions, things like this. When you go to Wikipedia, and you visit the front page of Wikipedia and you see the featured article of the day or the picture of the day or in the news, none of that is done by staff members. That is all done by the community. And so it really is quite unique in that sense. The community really drives the project, and the foundation is there to support the community in their work. So I'm going to show you one more video and then we can go. This is just some more fun people from the Wikipedia community, and then we'll have our conversation.
No, I don't have superpowers at all. No. You could totally do it.
I pushed the button and saved the text. Woo! It was exciting.
You just changed Wikipedia. You just added your own contribution to Wikipedia.
I read an article in The Guardian about this Online-Enzyklopädie which everybody can contribute to, and I thought, whoa, maybe I can contribute too as well.
I edited the first time and I think I got addicted to it. I don't get paid anything. I just do it for, something to do in my free time, that's it.
You may start doing it for an idea because you believe in it, but you end up with friends, you end up with lovers, you end up with wonderful discussions, you end up with new ideas, you end up with the new books you're going to write.
You're not writing the article alone. You write a piece and somebody else goes like, hey, I have more, and together you can create articles that are pages long, which you can't by yourself.
Then you have success. You always see, okay, what I've done was successful, and this is great, because editing is a great feeling every time you do it.
As I say, when I read about Wikipedia, I decided that this is maybe where I would fit in, and I did.